This is Ubuntu Radio.
A better South Africa, a better Africa, and a better world.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of The Diplomat on Ubuntu Radio. I am Thelma Hlongwane, bringing you the show between 9 and 12 midday Central African time. But right now, it is our time to have a conversation with an ambassador. South Africa and Slovakia enjoy warm diplomatic relations founded on mutual respect, shared commitment to international cooperation, economic development, education, innovation, and multilateral engagements. As both nations navigate a rapidly changing global environment, there are exciting opportunities to deepen cooperation across various aspects. Today, we are joined by His Excellency Vladimir Gracz. He is the ambassador of Slovak Republic to South Africa. You are welcome to Ubuntu Radio.
Thank you very much, Thelma. So I'm happy to be here, and it is really an honor and pleasure for me to share some interesting things maybe about Slovakia, about the relationship between Slovakia and South Africa.
So Slovakia and South Africa enjoy warm diplomatic relations since the establishment of Slovakia as an independent state. How would you say the state of relations between the two countries are right now?
No, I think that we had from the beginning a very good relationship, and warm, as you have told. So I think that today the state of this relationship is maybe even better if it is possible. But I think, and I would like to stress that it was very interesting that practically at the same time in the early 90s we began to build the democracy in the two countries. So because, we were part of former Czechoslovakia, we had the so-called Velvet Revolution in 89, and practically at the same time was the end of the apartheid regime, and in 94 you had the elections. So one moment I think is very important. One of the observers in this election was the actual Prime Minister of Slovakia, Mr. Robert Fico. So we will speak about it as well. So, and from the beginning, because from in times of Czechoslovakia, most of all the previous regime, so our country was so very, very strong critic of the apartheid regime, and was supporting the African National Congress and all the struggle against the apartheid. So that's why from the beginning of the establishment of the relations in 91, Czechoslovakia, we're speaking about Czechoslovakia, so it was really in a very high level. So, and now really, so we have for example the trade relations. We will speak about it more detailedly. So the trade relation between South Africa and Slovakia is from the point of view of South Africa maybe not so much, but for Slovakia it's about 300 millions of US dollars. So and it is for a small country like Slovakia, it is a lot. So we are our first trade partner in sub-Saharan Africa. So, and the third in whole African continent. So, and of course, so we had a very, very good relationship in the political part. Of course, we are now working in the visit of the Prime Minister Fico to South Africa as well. We have culture, so we will speak about it surely. Really, the state of the relations is excellent, I would say.
Interesting to know. So, which areas are the main areas of cooperation between the two countries?
Yes, so I have mentioned nowadays, it is very important. I think maybe the most important, or the first. We have the priority of the relationship is the trade or the business or the economic relations. So I have mentioned that we built really so this relationship during these 30 years, and now I think that maybe it is a little bit exaggerated, not very correct to tell that we are satisfied with it, because we have a huge potential to have much better and much deep and deeper. And much more trade, so the volume of the trade much more as we have today. So it is the first. Of course, we have a very good political relations as well. We had just last year in March political consultation between our state secretary and Deputy Minister Botes. It was very interesting, very good, because we are sharing a lot of. So sharing we are like-minded in a lot of questions of the global politics as well. So you will speak about it surely. As well. So so me personally, I try to contribute to the cultural to building cultural bridges between the two countries. So it is, of course. So the very important thing is the tourism as well, and I am really happy that during my tenure here. Was abolished or eliminated the visa obligation for the Slovak tourists, and that it will really enhance, it will promote the travels of the Slovak people, because South Africa is a very, very popular destination for the tourists of Slovakia as well.
We'll get into that a little later.
Yeah.
So are there any mechanisms that are in place to deepen political relations as well as trade relations?
Yes, maybe I would mention first political consultations. I cannot tell that it is like something permanent. We are working in signing a memorandum of understanding or memorandum of cooperation between the two ministries of foreign affairs, because I think that it is a basis of good communication about a lot of things and themes. And we have what is a concrete institution we have. It is a joint commission for economic cooperation. It was established, if I am not mistaken, in 2007 or 8, something like that. We had in 2019 the last meeting of the commission. Now we are waiting for expecting the concrete interest of the both parts to hold next one in Slovakia, now in Bratislava. So we are working in this as well.
So for now, do you have any work or priorities that the embassy is putting in place to ensure that diplomatic relations are advanced in the upcoming years?
So, as I have mentioned, maybe one of the priorities, or the highest priority for us is the organizational realization of the travel, the visit of the Prime Minister, Robert Fico, to South Africa. I have to mention that we had an excellent meeting. It was really one of the highlights of my 40 years diplomatic career. The meeting of Prime Minister Fico and President Ramaphosa during the EU-AU summit in Angola, in Luanda, November last year. So that's why. So it is the first one, because I think that we, in this very complicated world we have now, and situations, wars, conflicts. So it's very, very important to have a communication of like-minded countries. So it is the first one, and of course, I have mentioned. So one of the priorities of my tenure in general, my missions in general from the beginning, from late 80s when I started my diplomatic career, so was the building of the cultural bridges. So we have organized here very interesting events, I think. So it is the another one. So, and of course the trade, because it is something, it is a must. we used to tell.
Of course, you've just mentioned trade. As we move into trade relations, well, economic diplomacy has increasingly become very important in international relations. How would you describe the current trade relations between the two countries?
Okay, as I have mentioned, it is relative the evaluation of the situation for Slovakia. If I compare, for example, with neighboring countries or another countries, not only in Africa but for example, in Latin America, it is important to see that our main partners, trade partners, are in Europe. So we are European Union. So of course, it is logical that the exchange, commercial exchange, is huger in the European continents. Of course, we have more special relationship with big countries like China, like India, some of the Asian countries as well. Frankly speaking, and I am a little bit ashamed of it, but we were underestimating the relationship with some parts of world. For example, Latin America, I spent 12 years in South America, working in diplomatic missions there, and frankly, we were treating bad the relationship with these countries, most of all in the trade area. So that's why I am happy now that the government is paying more attention to this part of the world, especially to Africa as well. We opened embassies in Tanzania, in Algeria. So, but the embassy in the relationship in general with Southern Africa, especially with South Africa, is a priority of our commerce. So. And what is very important, that the interest of our companies, our enterprises, is increasing. I mean, the interest in the business cooperation with South Africa.
Maybe let's dig in a little deeper and talk about the products and the sectors that dominate trade between the two countries.
So Slovakia is very important in the production of cars. So is the automotive industry. I know that's very important in South Africa as well. But South Africa is much bigger country. The economy is much more diversified and huger in general, of course, and in volume. But it's I think that we can tell. So it's very important that. Slovakia is the first or the biggest producer of cars per capita in the world. So it is. We are far. I don't know who is in the second place. No, it is Germany, maybe some country, but we are producing like 30% or 40% more than the second one. So per capita, as I am speaking. So we are producing more. Our country has the population is 5.5 million. And we are producing more than 1 million of cars, so it is quite huge, and of course the auto spares as well, and so on. And this is the main field of cooperation between the two countries, because so even and most of all there is the more complementarity is, of course, the production of the cars. We have common. I mean because you have the factory of Volkswagen. We had the factory of Volkswagen as well, and now it's quite new. I think in South Africa is Stellantis. It is a Peugeot, the French car. So Peugeot and Citroën. So we have. It was one of the first. It was the second after Volkswagen in Slovakia. So it is the main field of cooperation. And then we have a lot of else. So we have in energy sector, we have electrical instruments, we have a lot of chemical products, fertilizers, for example. So it is more like the exportation from Slovakia. And contrary, I saw from South Africa is once again, so it is the automotive industry, but more the agriculture products, so fruits. I remember even I was not dreaming of being ambassador in South Africa, so but I noticed that we had, for example, during the winter time, because we had grapes as well, but in the winter time it's of course a different situation, and we had grapes from South Africa. It was for me a surprise. South Africa is so far, no? So now I saw and you go to the to the shops in Slovakia is absolutely normal. The grapes are, I think, the most from South Africa, and even we have apples from South Africa as well. So the citruses and so on. So nuts, of course. So the macadamia, surely it is from South Africa. So these are the main products. So we are exchanging.
As you have mentioned, the issue of automobile, you are also very strong in engineering as a country. You also very strong in manufacturing. Do you foresee any other opportunities that exist for the countries to cooperate on?
Okay, so frankly, it is necessary to know that the embassies are the mediators in the relationship. So of course we are if needed, because frankly, normally in this, like in automotive industry, it is so important, so worldwide, that practically there the relationship is established. I would say automatically is a policy of the enterprises to cooperate, to collaborate. So there is, as I have mentioned, for example, Volkswagen. It's absolutely obvious that the cooperation between the two countries in this part of the industry is very narrow. So it's very, 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 very important. Of course, we are speaking. The innovation is very important. So the creativity. So our country, our youngsters, most of all, are very, very creative. So very, very important part of the development of our economy. It is enhancing of these people who are contributing a lot to modernizing all the fields of the economy in our country. So that's why, obviously, so there is a lot of possibility. We are more responding to the requirements, to the questions of our enterprises, if they need to establish contacts, for example, with the partners, so on. So that's why it depends on them how is interested, contrary-wise. But obviously, we are representing we are supporting our enterprises, our companies, and the embassy in Vienna, in this case, of South Africa, the companies from South Africa. But we are involved as well in this kind of cooperation, because at least from the point of view of the visa regime, because unfortunately, but these are very strong requirements in EU and Schengen countries. So South Africa has a visa regime. But we tried, me personally, we have a very small embassy, so I sometimes work, I'm working sometimes as a consul as well. So we tried really to be very helpful and to resolve the question of the visa as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. So that's why, so it is our contribution maybe to the cooperation. So as many people, of course, is traveling to Slovakia because of the business as well.
South Africa is looking for investment and industrial cooperation from other countries. Are there any companies that would be interested from Slovakia, and what kind of cooperation are they looking for?
So we have interested. So I know about a company which are producing fertilizers, organic fertilizers, which is very interesting, and nowadays is obviously one of the priorities to have like we have the green energy, so we have the organic fertilizers. I think it is very, very healthy to tell like that. But we have a concrete. So frankly, so we are a small country, and as I have mentioned that. We a little bit more underestimated the relationship, commercial relationship with South Africa, including. So we had not a lot investments. We have more investments from South Africa in Slovakia, but now we have about 3 years quite an important investment in the metallurgical sphere. It is called Heineken Group in Brakpan, they have a factory, a plant. It's called Alloys and Minerals. They're producing most of all, I think it is aluminium from the cans, aluminium products, and I think it is about 250 employees, and they are trying to expand to 400. So. Surely comparing with other countries, it is a very modest one. But for us, it is the first number, the first swell also. So it is very important for us because it's the beginning, and it is kind of example for and motivation for other investors, other companies, Slovak companies, that it's possible, and it is good to make business with South Africa.
Slovakia has emerged as one of Europe's automotive manufacturing hubs. What lessons would you say South Africa can draw from Slovakia with regards to this?
Surely, I think that the automotive industry is a very important one, and even if when we had some critical moments, some crisis, so the automotive I think will survive everything because I think it's quite logical. So the cars are needed all over the world, and the lobbying is very strong as well of these companies. So we felt it in Europe as well. So it is one of the priorities in the decision making as well to do the things like to make easier the production of the automotive sector. So of course, I think it's very logical, and our country maybe the lessons. So it's very very discussed in other country now. That is important, the diversification of the economy. So we are very concentrated, focused on the automotive industry. So I think it is not in danger because once again, so it is clear that this industry will be prosperous in the future as well because of the character of the production. But maybe it would be better not to focus so much to this industry. That's why the diversification is very very important. So and absolutely it is a priority for our country as well. So maybe this is a lesson learned in our country that it's necessary to be a little bit more open to diversify the economy. So and of course the cooperation is very important. It is a sector where the creativity is paramount practically. So and our people, our youngsters, I had a very interesting experience when I was ambassador in Spain, and one of the leading companies, Spanish companies, they had a plant in Slovakia as well. And he told me once that we had some projects, some program, and we visited Slovakia to present our new things, new projects for the production and so on. But first we asked the people from the plant in Slovakia to tell something about their ideas how to proceed, and he told me that you cannot imagine. So we are so surprised. So this is some youngsters were presented their ideas how to proceed in the production of the plant. So we practically we have hidden our project because it was something that genial. So he told me that really, so our country, our youngsters are very very ambitious, very motivated, very creative. So that's why it's our proud practically.
Talking about youngsters, we believe that they are very good with technology, skills development. It's one of the areas that are mainly targeted at the young ones. Do you see any existing opportunities that can be leveraged on with regards to technology, digital transformation and innovation?
Yes, surely we are very good in the digital issues as well. I know that we are offering several kind of smart technologies, for example. So I am in contact with several companies, several enterprises in this sense as well. So we are trying to establish contacts. We are trying to introduce these ideas to South Africa as well. Of course, South Africa, I think, is quite good in this as well. So, but once again, so I can repeat it that it depends on the interest of the concrete interest of enterprises, and if there is some concrete offer, some concrete interest, but I am stressing as well so serious interest, because sometimes the enterprises are like trying everywhere. So it is, I am very sincere with it, because I have not only good experiences in this sense, but some of them are very serious, and we are then establishing contacts. We have here our honorary consul, who is a very successful entrepreneur, who is helping us to establish this contact, so to find partners for these enterprises. But really, so the digitalization and the innovation, and most of all this IT sector, the artificial intelligence. So now it is one of the priorities of our development in economy.
Well, small and medium enterprises are the key economic drivers. How can businesses from both countries at that size use the opportunity to
Yes, I think yes, you're right. It's very important. So I was representing my country some months ago in a very important international conferences about small and medium enterprises, and frankly, I was surprised, but I mean in more negative sense, that they were discussed issues. But I said, how is it possible that we are so the small and medium enterprises are producing, I think, about 80% of the production, the whole production, so it's very high volume of it, and we were speaking about how to support the SMEs, how to help them in the financing, and so absolutely elemental questions, existential, I would say, existential questions. So how is it possible? So so I think so. My in this, we are communicating with fellow participants there, and really, so how is it possible that we are in this state of this situation? So it is really very important to support the small and medium enterprises. And when I am speaking about the Slovak companies, so they are mostly small and medium enterprises, at least which are contacting the embassy. It is quite logical, because the big ones are obviously making the business already, so without help of the embassy, because they are well established and so on. They have the contacts and so on. So that's why for us really, so is it priorities? It is paramount to help these small and medium enterprises who are asking us, who are expressing their interest to cooperate with South African partners.
Let's now look at education, science and innovation, Ambassador. I know Slovakia has a strong tradition in science, engineering and technical education. How can educational cooperation be used by both countries to strengthen their relations?
We have signed in 2005 an agreement in the cooperation in education, science, research, and etc. But I have to tell that we have a good and huge potential in this collaboration, but the cooperation is quite in a very low level. So, but once again, not the embassy is the protagonist in this situation, because it's necessary from the two parts. So the research centers, universities. So, pardon, the respective enterprises who are involved in these questions to express their interest to cooperate, to make concrete this. We have the basis, we have the agreement between the two countries. So I think that legally and institutionally, so we are prepared for this cooperation, but it's necessary to express the concrete interest in this. So that's why we are ready, the embassy is ready, but I have to tell that at least I have no knowledge about something concrete we have. So unfortunately. So but we have this is a challenge for us to work in this.
I see. So, are there any scholarship opportunities for people who are willing to go and study in Slovakia?
Yes, so as I know, it is not a lot, but we have sometimes, the scholarship politics, and I am very critical, towards our government visit, because other countries, and not only the Western European countries, but even I heard that Hungary, when I heard that Hungary is offering, I think, like 50 or even more scholarships only to Kenya, to one country, one African country, and we have about 100 for all the world. So it is a shame, frankly. So it is now. I am very critical towards the government of our country, but I think we are improving in this issue as well. So, but because it is possible to study in Slovakia, but in the private. So paying for it and so on, it is normal. So we had a very good institutions in universities and so on. But the scholarship is important as well. So, but what is new, for example, it is, I think, from last year we introduced. For now, it is about 100 scholarships, but scholarships for talented youngsters. And it is open for all over the world, so even for South African students. So we are improving, but slowly and step by step. So I wish to do it faster, but we have our problems, our financial problems, our economic problems. So that's why. So I am happy if we are. So step by step to improving this as well.
Do you see any opportunities to collaborate with universities in terms of research and development?
Surely. Once again, so I would repeat that there is possibilities. Even I was told. So I had some preliminary or prior contacts about the possibilities. So I informed. What is maybe interesting? So it is one of the part of fields of the cooperation, possible cooperation. It is through the so-called. We have an organization which is called popularly Slovak Aid. So we have the diplomat cooperation programs. So and we have some cooperation with South Africa. These are projects financed partially by Slovakia, partially by the EU funds, and these are more focused on young populations. So, for example, enhancing and training, improvement of skills of young people, future entrepreneurs. So, in entrepreneurship.
Both Slovakia and South Africa are committed to multilateral and international cooperation. How important is multilateralism in addressing the global challenges?
It's, I think, very, very important, and maybe it was underestimated, the multilateral cooperation. Today we see how is the situation if it is not working sufficiently well. So and I think that we all agree that the UN is so it is quite painful, but maybe to tell that it is failing. So not the most fair and just word, but it is the fact. So it's not functioning as we had the idea, more than 8 years ago, that it would function, that it would work. So we had a dream of a world organization which will maintain and preserve and defend the peace and security in the world, and now we have a lot of conflicts in the world, and we are not able to control it. And no, this is a very complex, of course, question, but anyway, so now we can see that the only, and I am absolutely convinced, the only way to control the situation in the world is through the international organizations, through the multilateralism, through the communication between all of us on the widest platform, on the widest forum. So that's why I think the UN is a key organization for this. So of course we have several very important multilateral organizations as well. So it's necessary to make use of the opportunity to discuss the question, but not only discuss. So to come to agreements, to not only share opinions, but really to come. We have enormous problems. We have problems with the climate changes. We have now all these conflicts. We have. So that's why it's absolutely important to stress the importance of the multilateral communication.
Slovakia is a member of the European Union and NATO, while South Africa is playing a very important role in Africa and the global South. How can these different perspectives contribute towards a constructive global dialogue?
So I used to tell that I think it's nothing. It's like a cliche that we are condemned to dialogue. So it's no alternative practically. So it is, and now you see what is happening in the world. So we can communicate, and we can have a dialogue, and we can agree most of all. So, and absolutely that doesn't matter, Thelma, if we are NATO or BRICS or I don't know what. So the most important is that we are in UN, for example. So, but UN is a kind and would be like a kind of symbolic symbol of the unity of the world. So really, so we have to have this unified interest in resolve all the disputes, resolve all the questions, resolve all the challenges we have. So I have mentioned the climate changes, of course. So that's why it doesn't matter where we are. So it doesn't matter if we are north or south, up or down, or left or right. So it doesn't matter absolutely. So what is important and what is paramount are the values. And if we are sharing the values, I mean the absolute values, like for me, so it is a little bit maybe so esoteric, I would say, so spiritual, but really, so the love, the respect, these are elemental things. And then, if we have this respect, most of all, the love and respect to each other, so we can resolve anything. surely. So that's why it doesn't matter which kind of organization we are representing. So, but the important is to share the values, and then we can agree. Surely we can, if we and so more maybe. Concretely, we are speaking a lot about the international respect to the international law, to the territorial integrity. Now we have these conflicts in Ukraine, for example. So these are the concrete things. So but if we share the values, so we surely will agree.
What are the major global challenges that requires international cooperation today?
I think it's absolutely clear: peace and security. Now, peace and security, because the rest, if you have war, you cannot work, you cannot function normally. So, but how to exchange, trade, cooperation? How if you are fighting, so you are killing each other. So I think that the most important now is peace. Is peace, to have peace in the world. So it is. It was in the Miss Universe, Miss World contest, and it was a question. So, what is your dream? What would you like to do? So, peace in all of the world. So, it is like a cliche, but really it is important. So, it is a basis of the functioning of the world. So, we need peace, and we need to be safe, to feel safe. That's why I think that it is absolute priority to do our best to secure this situation when all of us will have the possibility to be prosperous, to live a absolutely normal life, so not comfortable. So for somebody is comfort is in lower levels, for somebody in higher level. No, it is not so. To feel comfortable, it is the most important. So it is not important the level of this, but see comfortable. So to have what we need, but most of all, so it is one thing, because it is a quite material one, but to have the environment and have the condition to go ahead and to have a good cooperation between us. So to put closer the countries, the peoples, the cultures, the histories, the traditions, everything.
I'm glad that you mentioned peace. In one of my past conversations, I spoke to the head of the ICRC, and as we continue with our conversation, he mentioned peace. And he emphasized on how we all perceive peace. And now we are bringing it on. It means that we are really aligned. All that we need is peace in the world. So how can Europe and Africa work together more effectively in terms of issues such as peace and security, climate change, sustainable development, migration, and economic growth?
Because once again we can go back to you know about the 21 I think goals of the sustainable development of the UN. So I think that we had very clearly established what is the goal, or what are the goals, and now only work in it. So the problem is once again, so returning to the previous question, so to have the environment, to have the condition for this, which is the peace and security. So, but speaking the collaboration of Europe and Africa, Europe and Slovakia, because really, so I'm so very very satisfied that we are improving the relationship. We are improving and then making or paying more attention to African continents from part of Slovakia, because really so the opening of the embassies is a very very concrete and good proof of this attention, this increasing attention. So surely we have the platforms, the forums. I have mentioned the EU-AU summit last year, so we have, I think, very good cooperation between in this level as well between the European Union in general as an institution, the common institution of the European countries, and the African Union as well. But very important is the bilateral communication and bilateral cooperation in the multilateral forums. For example, I am very proud of a very specific cooperation between South Africa and Slovakia. It is from the times of our membership, our first membership in Security Council in 2007 and 2008. We promoted it. One of our priorities was the so-called security sector reform. So it is, I don't want to enter the details, but it is like promoting and supporting the reinforcement of the security in the countries, for example, after critical moments, after coup d'états, for example. So, or in general, after gaining the independence. So, and when they are beginning to construct, to build their sovereignty, their own states, and so on. So that's why. So the security of these countries, so security sector is very, very important in this sense. And we were cooperating from the beginning very closely with South Africa. And now we have a so-called group of friends of the security sector reform, and we are co-chairing with South Africa. So the Slovakia and South Africa is co-chairing this group in UN. So that's why I think that it is a very concrete, very good example of the two countries how to cooperate. And of course, returning to UN, because I consider UN the key of all the arrangement and management of the most important questions in the world. Absolutely. So that's why we have to focus in reforming the UN, and of course to increase the participation of Africa. We are absolutely sharing with many other countries in Europe as well that Africa has to pay much more important and bigger role in to have more participation in the key organs of UN, the Security Council, for example. So that's why. And then we are hopefully we will be members of the Security Council from 28-29. So surely we will enhance this cooperation, especially with Africa as well. So that's why I think that this is one of the most important goals. So for not only of us, but all over the world. So it is not only Europe and Africa, but I see that we are. So in general, so not only Slovakia, but European Union is paying more and more attention to Africa. Of course, we have a kind of competition here as well. So we have the Chinese presence increasing here. Unfortunately, the Russian as well. So it is not so positive, maybe, but okay. So it is a reality. So that's why we are motivated in increasing as well. So our presence. So we are really working very hard on it.
We are living through a period of significant geopolitical shifts with changing power dynamics, economic uncertainty, technology transformation, and evolving international partnerships. As a member of the European Union, Slovakia occupies an important position within these discussions. So, Ambassador, how does Slovakia view the current geopolitical landscape and the major changes that are taking place in international relations?
So I have mentioned already that we are living in a very complicated world, very complicated situation. We concretely in Slovakia, our neighbor country, Ukraine, is a victim of an aggression of a big country, another neighbor, with which we try to have always a good relationship. we are really very worried about the situation there, and we see that the saddest thing is that now the relations in our neighborhood is spoiled, ruined, literally, maybe for generations. Because I cannot imagine, frankly, so I am generally an optimist person, but I cannot imagine how you can reestablish and recover the trust, for example, between Ukraine and Russia. And it is indispensable because they are neighboring countries. So it will be very difficult. It is only one. No, it is a huge war for Europe. It is primarily, so it is more important because it is in our territory practically. But I know that the question and the conflict in Middle East is influencing the world as well. So it is influencing very, very seriously because of the prices of the fuel, of course, which is then expressing negatively in the production in general, so transportation and so on. So that's why we see that now the situation is very complicated, is increasing the tension still. So there are some parties, some states, some countries trying to calm the situation, to call for peace negotiations and so on. So I hope, so I am optimist. So I hope that we will, so including Slovakia. So we are. So our Prime Minister, it's maybe it is discussable. He's even communicating with President Putin so directly, but I think in general, so we can surely, and we are even, or he is personally criticized in European Union, within the European Union, but there is no other way. So we really, so without a communication and without sitting at the table. Now I was in Botswana in partnership dialogue, and the minister told it, okay, so we can criticize Russia because of course it is an aggression, it is absolutely clear, it is a violation of the international law, etc., etc. Okay, but we can arrange, settle, we can resolve this conflict only sitting at the table, all the parties. So Russia as well. Without Russia, we cannot make a peace. So it is impossible, logical, So that's why to tell that okay, but no, because an aggressor. No, simply not. We have to talk with the aggressor as well. So it is a fact. Simply, it is no other way. So that's why. I think that we have, maybe the small countries, we have a kind of advantage. So, because we are small, so South Africa is much bigger, so you are part of BRICS as well, so, and your voice is more, we can feel it much more. But, the small countries has maybe this advantage that they are more neutral. They have not such a huge interest in something. So so to have an influence in the world, because the superpowers has this inclination. So sometimes, so many times, it is quite a selfish, quite an arrogant approach and behavior of them. So we can see it so without mentioning concrete countries, but we see how is the situation. So the small countries are maybe their voice is not so loud, but on the other hand, I am sure they can be like more objective in the evaluation of the situation, because there is a lack of interest, because we are too small to have interest and to be selfish, so something like that. So that's why I think that that's why we can play a role. So we have Switzerland, for example. So we have countries, we have small countries. We are contributing with this voice, but the very important thing is that the big countries should listen to these voices, and maybe they are doing sometimes, but maybe it would be necessary to make it constantly, to do it constantly.
Do you consider all that you have mentioned to be Europe's biggest challenges, and how do small countries like Slovakia adapt to such a changing environment?
You know, we can adapt to anything, frankly. So we lived in our history very difficult times and so on. So it's true, but on the other hand, we are too small to decide or to secure to ensure our security, for example. So that's why, of course, we Slovakia as a small country, we need to be a part of a bigger organization, bigger gathering of countries, you know. So, like that's why. So for us, is primordial. So it is not. So we are very critical with European Union, our Prime Minister especially. So, but in general, but we are not the unique ones. So there is many political parties in other countries of Europe as well, which are criticizing even the leadership of the European Union. Okay, so everybody makes mistakes, of course. So it is normal, but we have to do our best, not to do it, or to do less possible mistakes, of course. So, but. For us, for a small country like Slovakia, we have no other way, and we are not even looking for other direction, other road as to be part of NATO, for example, but NATO as a defense organization, so not an aggressive organization, of course. So that's why we had discussion about how the NATO should work, should function. So that's why, and the EU for me, I am an Euro optimist from years and years. So I think that it is the best project of the humankind ever invented. The European Union, the common European house. So, but we are, as I have told, so we are making mistakes, and we need to correct it, to fix it. So, but we are part, and we need to be part of this community, surely.
The European Union is continuing to evolve in response to global challenges. What role does Slovakia seek to play within the European Union?
Okay, so as I have mentioned, sometimes we are critical. So we would like, but you know, our objective is to improve the functioning of the European Union. So it is paramount for us. It is the highest importance for us. So that's why. So we have now maybe the major dispute within the European Union, at least from our point of view, is that the big countries tend to decide without the small ones sometimes. Okay, so for us is very important to be listened to and to be heard, because it is important, because one thing is to listen to and to hear what the other party is telling. So that's why. So I think that it is important, not only Slovakia, it is in other countries as well. So the role is to be maybe critical, but surely constructive, not destructive. It is very important, because you can criticize, but you have no suggestion. You have no ideas how to fix The question is, yes, no, it is bad, you are doing it bad. Okay, but, and what to do? What is your opinion? How to fix it? How to do it? How to correct it? So that's why. So the constructivity is very important. So that's why. So I think that in Europe, you can feel it is more. It is better territory, I would say, for the small countries to express themselves and to be heard, to be listened to, and to be heard. As in the UN, for example, because it is almost 200 countries, so it is of course more difficult. But it is very important to implement this listening to the small ones to UN as well. So because really, I think the small countries, because of this neutrality, because of this maybe higher objectivism, they can really contribute to resolve important questions, important issues, important problems what we have in worldwide.
Well, from Slovakia's perspective, what would you consider the most important priorities for strengthening relations between Europe and Africa?
I think that I would say, tell now very sincerely. So I am now more than 4 years here in South Africa, and I am following. So I see the situation in general in Africa and the relation between Europe and Africa, and I feel still. So I was a little bit surprised. I thought that it is the question of the past, but I think that we have to be used to tell that to draw in Slovak we told a thick line. So the past is the past. So and we have to go ahead. Mm-hmm. So it is necessary. So we cannot forget. You cannot forget the colonial era. You cannot forget the injustices. No, it is impossible. It's absolutely. But we cannot live all the time in it and on visit or reminding these things, And I am sometimes meeting these ideas, so that it is leaving. So it was bad. The many things are really bad, and it is necessary to tell it. And I think it is necessary to apologize for it. It's very necessary. I consider it so. And and it is a very important thing, and I know that maybe many Europeans have this problem with it, but we were in a country. I grew up in a country which sympathized with the struggles against the colonialism, with the independence struggle of the African countries, for example. That's why. So we have maybe less guilt in the situation here, because we were not a typical colonial country. But I think that so I can understand. I can understand this. Maybe sometimes even anger, even or at least so that it is very present in the minds. It's very present in the memories of the peoples of the continent. But we have to go ahead, and Europe has certain depth. Surely, I absolutely agree in this with these countries. But I think that it would be more correct not to see it as a debt, but only we are maybe no, it is a fact. We are richer countries, so it is, I think, absolutely normal to this question of solidarity with the poorer ones. So absolutely. So I think that we are doing it. So it is very important. We are doing it. Maybe it is not so important to say, okay, but you had to thank. But one very famous president is almost calling the partners that you are not telling enough time. Thank you. No. I think it is not a way. So we have the possibility to help. So we will do it. We will do it because it is in our interest. So in our interest, if we are helping to develop the economy of the country, of every African countries, so it is a good market for the industries, for the enterprises of Europe, So, for example, so the cooperation is really so mutually, it's a mutual benefit of the two countries. So it is important. So the help has a very good effect then. So, but really, I now will return to this. But please, so let's the past in the history,
and move on. Ambassador, I would have loved to stretch our conversation a little further, but time is not on our side. As a final question, let's talk about tourism. Earlier on, you mentioned the issue of visa waiver. And now I know that many South Africans are not so familiar with Slovakia. Talk to me about your country. Describe your country and speak to us about destinations or experiences that South Africans can enjoy in Slovakia when they visit.
Okay, very interesting. So I think that in general, everyone is convinced that his or her own country is the most beautiful in the world. Absolutely. And I agree. I agree. So, speaking about Slovakia really is an amazing country, but I try to be very objective. So, really, but I am living. Slovakia is a small country, it's about 50,000 square kilometers, but we are. So it is for a small country. We are like a long one. And I am now living in one extreme, and I was born in another one, and I have my mom there, and I am visiting her, and I am passing. So I like very much to go through the whole country. Is about 500 kilometers, so it is a small country, but it is amazing at every time. So I don't know, dozens and dozens times I cross this country. And it is amazing. If you are in springtime, it is flourishing everything. So if you are in autumn, in fall time, so it is the colors of the leaves, So it is amazing. So it is what is more attractive in Slovakia, I think. So visit first Bratislava. It is an amazing city. Has a small city center. But it is a so special atmosphere that you will not want to go from there, surely. So to sit down and to have a coffee there, fantastic. For South Africans, special offer, suggestion. Near close to Bratislava, we have a lot of wineries and organizing wine tours. Very interesting, believe me. The South African wines for me is the best of the world. Now I can maybe offend the French and Spaniards and Italians, but really, so the variety of really fantastic wines is something amazing, something unbelievable. So, but we have good wines as well. Most of all, I know that, and I was a little bit surprised that the South Africans like the white wines, maybe even more than red wines. So we have excellent white wines. So it's a very good opportunity to taste excellent wines in Slovakia. And we have maybe the third one. So we have castles. Of course, we have history, very special, very beautiful castles, for example. But we have the lowest high mountains in the world, the high Tatras. So these are real like Alps, like Himalaya and so on. But they are the tallest one is 2,655 meters. So that's why it is called. It is a little bit sort of paradoxical. So it is like the lowest high mountains in the world. So it is my suggestion in Slovakia, of course, and. We are part of the Central Europe, so I think that we are very similarities with other countries as well. So the gastronomy is very, very good as well. I know that the gastronomy is very important as well. So I like the food in general. I had no limits, thanks to God. So I have limits to try anything. So that's why. And in Slovakia we had very good cuisine as well. So.
Yes, Ambassador, I'm looking forward to having future conversations with you because I feel like we still have a lot to talk about. Thank you so much for coming through to the studio to share some insights regarding diplomacy, trade, education, and other areas of cooperation between South Africa and Slovakia. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Thelma. It was a pleasure.
And to our listeners and viewers, stay tuned to Ubuntu Radio for more conversations on how South Africa is engaging with the rest of the world.
This is Ubuntu Radio.
A product of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, South Africa.